Today, we're talking about Robert Adelson. Welcome back to Moms for Justice. I am Carolyn. How are you guys doing on this lovely Labor Day weekend? I am like, it's been a hoot. So this morning I woke up and I called Jocelyn and I said, "Hey girl, what are you doing? Let's hop on and talk to our friends, our Moms for Justice people, our viewers." So we did that this morning and it was so much fun talking to you guys. I thought it was just gonna be like 30 minutes and we ended up being on for like 2 hours, something like that. But anyway, today we are talking about Robert Adelson. I've kind of have it all wrapped up for you, everything we know about him in a very respectful manner. And I just wanted to give you guys some good content on Robert Adelson because I think he deserves to get some credit for his honesty and integrity in this whole ordeal, not to mention what he must be going through with knowing that his whole family has pretty much turned into a bunch of criminals, and that can't be easy on him. But before we start, please subscribe, like this video, share it with everybody you know. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, and we've only been around a year. I did not expect that to happen. It's not what I set out to do. I just kind of wanted to do a channel about my love for true crime, and this is one of my favorite cases. Also, there's a super thanks button down at the bottom if you want to make a donation towards the channel. It helps us to put out great content for you. It is not necessary, just the pleasure of your company, and commenting and being on here with me is all I need anyway. So let's get started. So Robert Adelson, probably the most compelling and most anticipated witness in the Donna Adelson trial so far for me. And I think that is the case for a lot of you. There has been 3 trials already for the Dan Markel murder, and we had never seen him. So, you know, he's kind of been a big mystery, right? But anyway, so he did the right thing, and he came forward. And you can tell that he needed to make it right. He needed to make it right, not only in his head, but in his heart, right? So imagine how hard that is, let alone a family member. You're testifying against your own mother, okay? Now, real quick, let's bring up the fact that there is a problem in America, socially and emotionally, about in-laws, right? About, you know, let's just take for an example, you get married to a man and he is a mama's boy and he's super attached to his mama, right? And that mother makes crazy demands about your life. You're like in your 30s or 40s and you have kids. And when mom calls, you're nervous, right? And then your spouse is like really angry because it's like the mother calls and makes demands. And, you know, sometimes the person will go with their parent, their mother, over their own wife. And that is just a major problem in America. Now, thankfully for me, do you all get along with your, you know, significant other's parents? That is a problem. People, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people be like, "Oh, my monster-in-law," right? I have a monster-in-law. I'm so lucky that I have the best mother-in-law in the world. I really do. And honestly, my husband loves my mother, but that's not the case in many households. So I do think that Robert was very attached to his mother and probably had a very hard time dealing with his mother, especially when he started having relationships. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But anyway, testifying against your own mother is a whole other level of incredibly hard, right? It really is. So let's talk about who he is. First of all, he is a doctor. He's an otolaryngologist, also known as an ENT. He has he's a plastic surgeon as well. He earned his medical degree from the University of South Florida. He completed his residency and internship at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, where it is believed, and what I have heard, is where he had met his wife, the wife he has now. But there's more on that in a minute. So he's the oldest child of Harvey and Donna Adelson, raised to be a golden boy, okay, just like they've raised Wendi to be the golden girl. It is apparent, okay, that he once had his mother's heart and devotion, okay? She was very involved. Don't think for a second that what we see with Wendi and Charlie did not at one time happen with Robert Adelson. It is clear from things he has said and other things that I have read that he was very much a mama's boy for a while. Okay, so it has been described also that he has sought the affirmation and attention of his mother. He also deeply respected his mother and put her first and himself second. Okay. And that is not uncommon with men who are very very attached to their mother. I almost said attracted. That would have been weird, right? Anyway, very attached to their own mother. And there's just something so like innocent about that. And it's just, that bond happens when they're very, very little. And, until the time you find your wife, your mom is like your first love. You know what I mean? The same way, like, you raise a daughter and her daddy is her first love. So anyway, while he's in Texas, that is pretty much where I heard he had met his current wife now. I'm not going to say her name, but she's an Indian woman that he had met in Texas. Now, she was not Jewish. She was not Jewish. They fell in love, and this angered Donna, his mother, like immensely angered her to the point where she was harassing him to break off this relationship. This is no good for you. You know what I mean? Basically insisting to dump her, all because she wasn't Jewish, which, I don't know. If you love somebody, you love them for who they are, and it doesn't matter what their religion is, what their, shade of skin color is. It doesn't matter. If you're in love, you're in love. And Donna, wasn't going to go for it. Anyway, at first, he held out for the sake of love. Like he was fighting it. You know what I mean? And he was with her for a while, and he was just trying. And he has described it that eventually he just gave in. You know what I mean? And she basically gave him an ultimatum. Okay? And it was either her or them. And they were forcing Rob to make a choice. And he made that choice. Okay? But there's a happy ending to this, as you probably already know. But I'm going through everything. And I think by the time we're at the end of this video, you'll see that I kind of put things together all in one place so that everybody can know everything about Rob just from this video. Under the intense pressure, he breaks it off. He eventually finds a Jewish woman and marries her. This greatly pleased Mommy Dearest. No more wire hangers, right? But as we all know today, Rob is not just anybody. He's a person with a heart and a person with soul. And he couldn't live like that. He had married a Jewish woman to please his mother. And within months, just nagging at him. This isn't right. This isn't right. Probably he is the only person that we know of in the Adelson family that does the right thing. I mean, they're all a mess, right? So kudos to him for standing up for what he believes in, because what he does is he does the right thing, and he files for a dissolution of the marriage. And how incredibly painful that must have been, not only for him, but for the woman that he married that was Jewish. I mean, how painful. But you know what? Imagine if he hadn't left her. And then he stayed married to this woman for the longest time, knowing that he truly loved the other girl. I mean, it's just, thank goodness he was honest and he got out of it quickly, right? Because it's just not fair to string her along like that. We know other Adelsons that string people along. Rob doesn't. So he got out of it, thankfully. And I'm sure that, in his own way, he's, asked for forgiveness for that. He eventually goes back to his one true love. And then he marries her and has children. So there's some good news in that. But the kicker is that Harvey and Donna were like, okay, we accept her now. And they go to the wedding. So, I mean, wow, people, like, after all that, it just goes to show you that the games that Donna plays with people's hearts, it's all about control for this woman. I mean, I know that, does anybody see that? Because like, some people might be like, oh, how nice, they went to the wedding. No, think about how devious that is. that you put him through all that, and then you show up, and I think they're wearing like Indian attire in like, it was like an Indian ceremony. I don't know anything about that culture, but I know they were wearing like saris, I think it is, and I was just shocked when I saw the pictures. I was like, okay, it's like they're participating in her culture, and I was just like, the nerve of this woman. I was just blown away by it. Anyway, so here is some of Rob and his current wife, who's now here to stay, talking on the Over My Dead Body podcast. And I just put it all together, and then we're going to go through his testimony.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest, and then my brother behind me, and then I'm 6 years older than Wendi.
After maybe about 8 or 9 months, he said he had something to tell me, that we had to talk, and I didn't really know what it was going to be. And basically he said that his parents just couldn't accept him being someone who wasn't Jewish, and that he'd have to break up with me, that they literally said it's either her or them.
Huh, okay. And was that explicit?
Yes.
He was very close with his parents at the time. So we proceeded to break up and get back together, and break up and get back together over the course of another year and a half.
For someone like me who, I was extremely, probably overly close to my parents, pleasing them, mattered a lot. Had my parents not put up multiple years of threatening to disown me, multiple years of angry, difficult phone calls, it never would have occurred. I was very briefly married to someone else. I feel terrible for all the pain it caused anyone involved. There was a rapid, I believe, annulment.
They came around and told Rob, we've decided that it would be okay for you to be with her. And they really tried. We all tried for a fresh start.
I do think my parents did everything they could do to try to make things better. There's a good bit of scar tissue to wade through from that. I don't think it resolved, but I think it made it better.
But before, you counted yourself as really close with your parents.
Yes.
And after, would you still say the same thing?
Less so.
Here's a question for you. Did you think you knew what happened?
Yes, and I was also hoping that it would not be a worst case scenario.
I can't imagine how she felt when he told her, I can't be with you anymore because you're not Jewish. I mean, and thank goodness she takes him back, right? Because I don't know. She must be a saint, because even after that, how do you not look at them in the future and be like, you don't approve of me? You're not starting off in a healthy relationship with your in-laws with this behind you in your history. I mean, it's just, it's extremely disturbing, and that you love this man and you want to have children with this man. And I think it's really good that they moved away from Donna, because imagine if Donna tried to dominate their children the way she dominates Wendy's and Dan's. I mean, you all heard the other day when the inmate described Donna as referring to the Wendy's 2 boys as her own children. She didn't refer to them as grandchildren. Anyway, this next part is Robert Adelson talking with his wife about when they found out about the murder.
Donna called me on Saturday morning. I think she had already tried Rob and couldn't get through.
Yeah, she had texted me a couple. I was in a meeting out of town. I was in Chicago. And when they spoke to me, they told me they'd already talked to Haritha. They texted me a couple times, and then they texted me they need to talk to me right now. And I remember exactly where I was standing in the lobby, and they explained that something has happened. Somebody shot Danny, and they took him to the hospital, but he didn't make it.
He tried calling Wendi.
I called her multiple times. I called my parents multiple times. Finally, she actually called me at a strange time during the day when I happened to be free, and I picked up the phone, and she said she didn't want to talk about anything because her kids were around.
She seemed surprised he was available.
Yeah, she said she really just wanted to leave a message. And I said, well, you called me. And, I asked her point blank, what do you think happened? And her response was, well, Danny had no shortage of enemies.
Wow.
But that's the most we've talked about it. And that's one of 2 conversations we've had since Danny was killed.
Later, Rob would want to talk more with his family about what happened to Dan.
They just didn't want to talk about it.
They kept saying that it doesn't involve them, and that Wendi felt that I was only interested in who would have done this, which seems like a normal reaction when someone you know well, is gunned down in their home. I think not being interested in a murder of someone you know well is unusual.
Okay, did you hear that? I mean, this is really, really important and super interesting because it's not just about Donna and Harvey, it's about Wendi. And the reason why you didn't hear this portion about Wendi in this recent testimony in Donna's trial is because it pertains to Wendi and probably was not allowed in. But Wendi is going to be shaken in her shoes if she ever gets indicted because he's going to come back and say this, okay? And you can go ahead and rewind it if you want to rehear it, but here it is. So he is trying to reach his parents. He gets on the phone with his parents, and the parents are like dismissing it. Donna and Harvey do not want to like really talk about this. It's not our concern kind of an attitude, right? And then he starts playing phone tag with Wendi because, you know, her ex-husband just died and his nephew's father just died. So he's calling, he's concerned, right? He's totally concerned here. So anyway, she finally calls back and says, well, look, I don't want to talk about this because the kids are here. And that's understandable, right? That is understandable. You don't want to talk about it in front of the kids. Eventually, he says, what do you think happened to him? You know, I want to know, like, who do you think did this? And she says, well, he had no shortage of enemies. I mean, where is the empathy, people? There's like none in this woman, right? But get this. So finally, the parents talk to him again. And again, they're like, I don't want to talk about it. This doesn't involve us and everything. But then the parents tell him that Wendi felt that Rob was only interested in who would have done this, which is a totally normal response. So like when you're the only one who acts normal and you have like 5, 6 people in your family that is this psychotic and narcissistic and crazy, Rob is like probably sitting there questioning himself going, isn't this the normal way people behave when somebody's died, when somebody's been murdered? Yes, Rob, it is the normal way. It is absolutely the normal way.
Does your mom have a favorite child?
She says she doesn't have favorites, but I don't think she likes my older brother.
Okay. But is Wendi the favorite?
I'd like to think it's a tie.
That is why he is testifying to the fact the older brother is not her favorite, because this had already happened. I mean, the incident where he calls to find out what happened to Dan Markel, that was one of the last times he ever spoke to them, right? So it explains why he's not a favorite anymore, because he's the honest one, right? He calls him even Honest Abe at one point. Here is some of what Wendi had to say about Robert through some of her testimony.
Now, your family dynamic. It is your mother and father, Harvey and Donna. There's you, you're the youngest, Charles, and then the oldest, Robert. Right?
Correct.
And he's a doctor up in New York.
Correct.
Now, the government asked you about the relationship, and you're like, we don't talk much. It's actually much deeper than that with Robert, isn't it?
We don't talk
At all.
at all.
And the
Why? Why don't they talk? Well, as we know now, they had a very uncomfortable conversation on the phone where she was annoyed that Robert was asking too many questions about who could have killed Dan Markel.
reason is because your parents were so difficult about the woman that is now his wife.
That is not the reason why we don't talk.
No, it's not.
I'm not talking about the reason why you don't talk. Let me clarify the reason why your parents don't talk to him.
That's not the reason why they don't talk with him.
Are you saying to this jury that there wasn't a problem where they outright objected to his marriage of a woman that was not of the Jewish faith?
That was initially what happened, and then there was actually a beautiful reconciliation, and they're very happy about the marriage.
Robert and his wife, not your family.
Robert and his wife and our family were very happy about Robert's marriage.
So what happens is that Robert is in love with a woman. Your parents object. He breaks up with her and then dates a Jewish woman, right?
And then they got married and divorced, and then he got back together with the person he wanted to be married to. Yes.
With his true love.
Yes.
But there was a lot of tension in your family because of your family's involvement in the kids' marriages, right?
Yes.
See, she's getting a break here. She's getting a break here because the fact is the reason why none of them talk is because Robert Adelson asked too many questions when Danny Markel was murdered. Okay, guys, so before we start with Robert Adelson's testimony and some commentary, I want to remind you guys of one thing, that on April 7th, 2025, go ahead and Google it, there was a hearing of the Donna Adelson case. Prosecutors turned over new discovery to Donna Adelson's defense team. Okay, and it contained wiretaps and investigative material, which included conversations between a jailhouse informant and Donna Adelson's husband, Harvey Adelson. Okay, what is the allegation with these wiretaps? Well, prosecutors are claiming, or had claimed at that time on April 7, 2025, that those conversations suggested that Donna and Harvey were planning to harm Robert Adelson, Catherine Magbanua, and even the mother of this jailhouse informant. The response from the defense was Donna's attorneys said that those affidavits were false or misleading. Of course, they said that. And they now wanted to re-question or redepose Robert Adelson and any other witnesses to see how these accusations could affect testimony. Nothing ever came about with that. I don't know what happened after that, but I do know that there was questions about a wiretap. Okay, about speaking about hurting their own son, Robert Adelson. So why am I bringing that up? Because it's something that could come out later in Wendy's trial. But the second reason is because Robert Adelson, when he gets on the stand here, he comes in through a back door. He doesn't come through the regular way. Okay, and some people say it was because he did not want to see his mom and dad. He didn't want to have to walk through the regular doorway as everybody else and run into anyone else. But I say, came into the back door because I think the man fears for his life, okay? Because he needs to be protected. He's a protected witness at this point. I think there's a lot of things we don't know, just how deep this goes. It didn't come up in Donna Adelson's trial. I don't know why. So you can take that and do what you want with it, but go ahead and Google it, April 7th, 2025. So let's go through Robert Adelson's testimony.
Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth?
I swear.
You may take your seat. Please speak loudly and clearly. You can adjust the microphone as need be. Ms. Dugan, you may examine.
Thank you. Could you tell us your name and spell your name for our court reporter, please?
Sure. Robert Todd Adelson, Adelson.
Thank you. And what state do you currently live in?
New York.
And how long have you lived in New York?
13 years.
Okay, so since maybe 2012?
Yes.
All right. What do you do for a living in New York?
I'm an ENT.
Okay, so you're a nose and throat doctor?
Yes.
And how long have you worked as an ENT?
For 20 years.
How do you know the defendant in this case, Donna Adelson?
She's my mother.
And Harvey Adelson's your dad?
Yes.
Okay, I'm stopping right there because this is heartbreaking. You can see it in his face, how terrified he is and how torn up he is that even has to be here to do this.
Wendi and Charlie Adelson are your siblings?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you grow up?
In Coral Springs, Florida.
Is that a bit north of Miami?
Yep.
About how long of a drive?
About an hour north of Miami.
Okay. When y'all were growing up, did you all, the five of you, live in the same house as a family?
Yes.
And who's the oldest child?
I am.
Okay. Who's the middle child?
Charlie.
How many years between you and Charlie?
3 years between Charlie and I.
And then who's the youngest then is Wendi?
Yes.
And how many years between Charlie and Wendi?
3 years.
Okay. When you were 18, did you move out of the Coral Springs house?
Yes, when I went to college.
Okay. And did you go to college at University of Florida?
I went to Tulane.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Did you live in Gainesville at some point?
I did, yes.
Okay, thank you. So
she has a look of disgust on her face. Did you see that? Did you see that little eye roll she gave? Like she's just she's obviously been terrified of him showing up, right? And we know that from the inmates saying, Drina Bernhardt said that she was really concerned about Robert Adelson testifying.
After you went to college at Tulane and then went on to med school, went on to residency, throughout those years, did you continue to talk to your parents and your siblings on a regular basis?
Yes.
And would you see them a couple of times a year?
Yes.
When you were in school, would you go home for the summer?
Yes.
Based on your personal observations throughout your life of your parents and of your siblings, who is the leader in the family? Who tends to run the show?
I think my mom.
Okay, so Donna Adelson?
Yes.
Would you describe Donna Adelson's personality as being more controlling or more laid back?
I think more on the controlling side.
What about, is she kind of a more assertive person or a more passive person?
More assertive.
What about your dad, Harvey Adelson? What's his personality like?
I think he's more passive, more go with the flow.
Okay. So they're kind of opposites in that way a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, like go with the flow with whatever Donna says.
When you and your siblings were growing up, was Donna Adelson a very involved parent?
Yes.
And when I say involved, as far as with your life and with your friends and with school and with that type of thing?
Absolutely.
Did she have certain fixed ideas throughout your life of certain things she wanted to happen in you and your siblings' life?
Yes, absolutely.
Was it acceptable if you decided to not do those certain things that she was fixated she wanted you to do? Was that acceptable to her or no?
No. I think she had certain sort of rigid, fixed ideas or impressions for what she wanted for us. And if you went along with that, things were fine. If you didn't, things were not fine.
I saw the camera on Harvey just now, and I thought to myself, you know what? If you're really not involved in this, look at your son up there struggling. Turn your back on this woman. If you're innocent, it's time to say bye-bye to Donna. This man needs you. He's your son. And it speaks to Harvey's guilt, right? I mean, why hasn't he reached out and hugged this man?
Did she have strong opinions about who you all married and what you all did for a living and those types of things?
Yes.
And you're obviously a doctor. Was that an acceptable profession to her?
Yeah, that was okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet.
And was that one of the reasons you became a doctor?
Yes.
Okay.
Because of Donna.
How involved was Donna in yours, Charlie, and Wendi Adelson's life after you grew up, became adults, and had kids of your own?
I think still involved.
Was she more involved with your life, Charlie's life, or Wendy's life, would you say?
Probably more involved with Wendi and probably to a lesser degree with Charlie.
Okay. And then would you be she's the least involved with your life out of the three?
Yeah, probably because I was older, but sure, I agree.
Okay, so you're the oldest child. You're out of the house before the other two?
Yep.
Okay, and then you also lived other places after you went to college throughout the rest of your life?
Yes.
Now, was this like a healthy level of involvement that she had with the three of your lives, or was it more of like a micromanaging as you saw it?
I think it was certainly between over-involved and controlling. It probably lended itself more toward controlling.
Wow.
But, there's, in various realms, more or less, but I think certainly that was attention.
Okay, so a little more on the controlling side.
Yes.
Tell him.
And does that include your personal lives as far as your relationships and in your professions, your jobs?
Yes.
She couldn't stop meddling. Leave him alone.
Was it Charlie who always needed more attention than the other two children?
I think so, yes.
When did Wendy's life start becoming one that she needed to pay or give more attention to?
I think when she had some troubles in her marriage, I wasn't aware there were any troubles in her marriage until Wendi left. But I think around that time when she had two young children, I think that was when she became more involved. And I was, at that point living, a pretty good distance away.
Okay.
Lucky you. Thank goodness you moved far away.
You living in Philadelphia at the time?
Yeah, but first in Philly and then in New York where we live now.
Okay. And so Charlie always got a lot of attention, and then Donna also started giving her attention also to Wendy's life once Wendi starts going through this separation or divorce.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. From your interactions with Donna Adelson through your whole life growing up and even as an adult, would you describe her as someone who's mentally sharp, thinking about things from all angles, or is she someone who's a little more gullible?
Is there a free-for-all on this issue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if I remember correctly from watching this, it's pretty rough here. It's like this awkward moment where like it's almost like everybody else got sucked out of the room and it's just the two of them sitting there. I mean, look at how awkward this is. My heart breaks for him to have to sit there. I mean, yeah. He cannot wait for this to be over, and I don't blame you, buddy. Like, you cannot wait to get back on a flight and get back to your sweet wife and kids. Because this is like hell on earth right here. Almost there. Here we go.
Were Charlie and Donna Adelson dependent on each other or pretty independent from each other?
I would say Charlie was probably somewhat dependent on my mom to help him out with organizing stuff, his dental practice. I think he probably relied on her a lot.
Okay. and you mentioned the dental practice. When you were growing up, who owned the dental practice?
My dad.
Okay. And throughout your life, was Donna Adelson in charge of the money at Adelson Institute?
I wouldn't know the inside workings of it, but I always remember my mom like signing the checks and writing the checkbook at the table, like when I was back in middle school or high school. So.
Okay. So even back then, she would do some bookkeeping or payroll type things at home.
That's my memory of it.
She loves.
Okay. And then, did the dental practice? You said it obviously started out at Harvey's. Do you remember a time when Charlie Adelson took over?
I remember my dad making a joke about him having a very understanding boss because Charlie was now his boss. So.
I wanted to say she loves writing checks.
Stated out of court, you may testify as to your knowledge, but not what someone else specifically said. The objection is sustained. You may continue.
I understand you were telling us how you remember that, but can you just tell us around what year do you remember that happening?
Around 2012, Charlie purchased the practice.
Okay, and then was there a time that you remember Charlie somehow selling it back to Harvey? Harvey Adelson is then becoming the head of the practice again.
I will permit you to answer the question if you have knowledge of this matter.
My memory of that was sometime in like fall to winter of 2015 to 16, somewhere right around there. That's my memory.
Okay, so fall to winter of 2015.
Turning into 2016. That's my memory.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Donna Adelson doing payroll at Adelson Institute throughout your life. If someone were to ask Donna Adelson, or if someone asked Donna Adelson to do something, is she the type of person that just snaps to it, or does she have some questions first?
Overall, this is not go to motion. You may answer the question.
No, I don't think she would just snap to and do what someone told her to.
Okay. Is she the type of person who's going to have some questions if you ask her to do something?
Yes, I think she would definitely have some questions.
How did Donna Adelson feel about Dan Markel when he and Wendi first got together and were headed towards marriage?
He was very positive about him.
Okay, so he was somebody she approved of?
Yes.
All right, and how did that change as Wendi and Danny's relationship soured? They ended up moving towards divorce.
So I really only heard anything bad about Danny after Wendi moved out. I didn't hear anything bad about him prior to that date.
Okay, so just kind of went from everything's fine to then hearing bad things about him.
Yes.
I mean, you know this guy is honest because he could easily come in here and like try to get back at them and embellish this testimony, and he's not doing that, which is really, it just makes him more credible to me.
When you say hearing bad things about him, like from her? From Donna Adelson, I'm
yes.
sorry? Okay. And how did Donna Adelson feel about Dan Markel in 2014?
I mean, she hated him.
Would this come from, your knowledge of that, come from things that she would say to you?
Yes. I mean, yeah.
Did you observe that Wendi played a bit of a damsel in distress, in your opinion, in the divorce?
Yes, I think that's a good way to describe it.
Did Donna Adelson ever talk to you about Wendi Adelson and Dan Markel's divorce?
I apologize. Did Donna Adelson? I apologize. Can I hear the question again?
Did Donna Adelson ever talk to you about Wendi and Dan Markel's divorce?
Some. I mean, the phrase that sticks in my head is that Danny was depoing Wendi to death. I wasn't involved with all the various motions. I remember that phrase. I remember there being a lot of court motions back and forth. But I remember that phrase. I remember some complaints about like very long either mediation or depositions that Wendi had to endure.
Okay, so this is Donna saying Wendy's having to go through these things.
Yes.
How did Donna tell you that, or did she tell you that how Wendi was planning to leave Dan Markel and give him the news that she was leaving the marriage?
It's a big one. This is going to be a big one, guys.
I think you're going to need to rephrase this in such a way the witness can answer, Ms. Dugan.
How did Donna Adelson describe to you how Wendi Adelson left the marriage?
Object to hearsay.
Ms. Dugan, please approach.
What did Donna Adelson tell you about the plan for Wendi Adelson to leave the marriage?
Sure. When she told me that that she had been in Tallahassee for several months.
This is Donna Adelson had
Yes.
been?
That she had been in Tallahassee for several months, renting a new place for Wendi, arranging for movers, moving money around and getting things set up. I only knew this after Wendi had moved out. But she was relating to me what had occurred over the summer. And so I heard this all at once, but, probably 5-6 days after Wendi had moved out. And then told me that somewhat gleefully or, pleased that they timed the phone call to Danny right before he was supposed to give a speech at the meeting he was at.
Gleefully and pleased, like almost like making an announcement of this amazing thing that's going to happen for Wendi and for Donna herself. Donna got enjoyment out of this.
Okay. So a couple questions about that. You said Donna said that she had been up here in Tallahassee moving the money around and getting things ready for Wendi. Do you mean for when Wendi moved out and needed a place of her own?
Yes.
Okay. And what did Donna tell you that she did to try to, hide the fact that they were renting a place for Wendi?
I remember her saying she had used her maiden name so there wouldn't be an Adelson up here renting, or hiring movers or such.
Just so like word of mouth wouldn't get around that Wendi Adelson was renting an apartment, something like that.
Sure.
Okay. So they used Donna's maiden name.
Yes.
Donna did. And then you said that their plan was for Wendi to call Dan Markell as he was getting on stage, or right before he got on stage, to give a speech at a conference?
That's what I was told.
Okay. And what was Donna's demeanor when she was describing this plan to you about how she was able to set up this place for Wendi to live in, everything was ready for her, and then this is how she gave Dan the news?
I think she sounded...
Donna is the one that gave the news? If not, then maybe...
I believe the question was, what was her demeanor? You may
sir.
answer the question.
She sounded pleased to me.
Did you ever see Donna Adelson doing anything to help Wendi Adelson with the divorce?
I think she was, answering a lot of emails and looking over, emails that went back and forth, looking over motions and such.
Did you personally see that when she was visiting you? Did you see Donna Adelson doing those things?
Yes.
Bomb. He saw it with his own eyes.
Okay. Was there an occasion when you all were in the hospital and Donna came to visit and was doing those things in the hospital?
I think it was at our home at the time, right before you went to the hospital. But yes, that's where we saw the email.
Okay. And while she was at your house during that time, was that when you were living in Philadelphia?
That was in Albany.
Albany, okay. Did she want the Wi-Fi at that time so that she could get on the internet and work on these filings?
Yeah, she said she had things to do to help out with the divorce.
So damning.
What date would that have been? Do you remember?
October of 12.
Your own son.
Did Donna Adelson tell you that Wendi Adelson was trying to get permission to relocate to Miami?
Yes.
And did Donna Adelson tell you about the $1 million bribe she wanted to offer Dan Markell?
Yes.
During the year or two after Wendi Adelson left Dan Markell, how much time was Donna Adelson spending in Tallahassee?
He had personal knowledge of her being here.
You may answer as to your
Be
personal knowledge
quiet,
of the
Jackie.
I can rephrase, Judge. Did Donna Adelson tell you information about how much time she was having to spend in Tallahassee?
She said that Wendi needed a lot of help because now she has 2 boys on her own, and so she was up there a lot. And I think yes.
Okay. Who cared more about Wendi Adelson's divorce from your conversations? Was it Donna or Charlie?
Donna.
What types of things does Charlie care about?
Charlie.
What are kinds of things is he really
Charlie
into?
cares about Charlie.
And like go-karts, jet skis.
Go-karts.
Going out, boats, not Wendy's divorce.
Yep.
Okay. And is Donna Adelson very into her kids and grandkids and their success?
Yes.
That's one thing a lot of people are mistaken about. Charlie wasn't as motivated as everyone thought he was. Charlie was actually inconvenienced, okay? He was inconvenienced because he was living this life of indulgence with his girlfriends and his trips to Thailand and his boat and all that stuff. And then he would get interrupted because mama would call complaining. So Charlie did not do this for Wendi or even himself. He only did it for Donna, and he completely screwed his entire life because of it.
How did do you think Wendy's divorce or her moving, I guess, do you think Wendi and her boys moving to Miami was particularly important to Charlie Adelson from your observations?
I don't think so.
During the divorce, from your conversations with Donna, was she fixated on Wendi taking this job with a guy named Gary Cohen in Miami?
Yes, that was a common discussion point.
Okay. Did she seem like it was just something that she kind of thought would be a good idea, or something that she seemed to have a real obsession with?
It came up a lot in my discussions with her about this job with Gary, where she'd be making $1 million a year and she'd be a partner, and it was something that was brought up a lot, that she'd be able to take care of her kids in a way that she couldn't up in Tallahassee, and then it was probably the one thing that she mentioned to me. The only time I heard any anger after the murder had occurred was that I asked, is Wendi going to go work for Gary now? And she told me that.
Did the job end up not working out?
As far as I know, it didn't.
Okay, and that you heard some anger from Donna when that happened?
She said that his partners wouldn't let them hire her until they.
Okay.
Sorry.
But there was some anger there because the job didn't end up working out.
Yes.
They couldn't hire Wendi, or didn't want to hire Wendi after all.
That's what I was told.
Okay.
Yeah, all that, Donna, and they didn't even want Wendi. And this is going on all over the country. She's applied for jobs, and the word is nobody wants her.
Thank you. Now, during the summer of 2014, did Wendi Adelson, I'm going to move on to 2014 now, did Wendi Adelson send you a text where she referenced having a boyfriend?
Yes.
And was this before Dan Markel's murder?
Yes.
Why was that memorable to you?
It was just unusual. Wendi, never was someone who would, share her, romantic life or boyfriends, or, tell me or, text me about anyone she was dating. So it just stood out as, unique or different.
Okay. What did she? Was there something in particular that she said that struck you as also unusual?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay. I guess. Was it your impression that your parents knew about this boyfriend at the time, or no?
No, the text said, "Don't tell the parents."
Well,
Sustained. Members of the jury, you are to disregard the last response of the witness.
may I approach, Judge?
You may. You may continue your examination, Ms. Dugan.
Okay, so I was asking you about this text that you received from Wendi Adelson. Can you tell me about this text?
Sure. She texted me that she was going to Gainesville for the weekend, and this was 2014. So I last lived in Gainesville about 3 years prior to that. I mentioned that she wanted. I mentioned the name of Jeff. I asked, "Who is Jeff?" The response was, "My boyfriend." I responded, "I didn't know," and she said, "You wouldn't, I didn't hear it from the parents." She says, no, "They don't know," and so it just struck me as. And then she sent me some pictures of Jeff with her and the boys. It struck me as unique because she'd never shared the name or photograph of a boyfriend before.
Okay, so.
Members of the jury, as to the last question and response, you are not to consider the hearsay statement for the truth of the matter asserted. You may continue.
Okay. So it was unusual for her to talk to you about boyfriends at all?
Yes.
But you also felt it was unusual that she's telling you about this boyfriend when even your parents don't know about him yet?
Right.
And she was closer to her parents at the time than you?
Correct.
Okay. What date was that text message sent?
The very end of June, like 26 or 28 of 14, but that last weekend.
Okay, so it was prior to 4th of July weekend?
Yes.
Okay.
For the record, and it is my opinion that the reason why she is pointing out the boyfriend to Robert Adelson is because she, and again, it's my opinion, that she needs to make sure that everybody around her, especially family members, need to know about the boyfriend, because it is in my opinion that she is setting up Jeff as the fall guy. We all know why. Because we all knew he was leaving on Friday, or supposed to leave, and ended up leaving a day earlier. You guys all know the story. And then we've got the silver Nissan and renting cars. The first one being a Nissan. On the first attempt, they couldn't keep that Nissan because Sigfredo Garcia got a ticket. He had to go back, get another car that still looked like a silver Nissan. And then on the second trip, they finally get a Prius, which isn't as close to the Nissan as the Altima was. But again, it would be pretty bizarre if her own brother up in New York didn't even know about the boyfriend, just creating, yeah, I know about Jeff kind of a thing, in case it comes out that Jeff is the one who gets blamed for this.
And do you remember where in those photographs Wendi is with her sons and Jeff?
Like Wakulla Springs, something like that.
Okay.
And they were in front of a board that said that.
And did you let her know you wouldn't mention him to her parents or to your parents?
Yes.
Did that strike you as so unusual that after Dan Markel was murdered, you felt, I guess, compelled to tell police, like, hey, I heard she has this boyfriend she hasn't told anybody about named Jeff?
Yes, I did. The FBI came to my house and I spoke to them once, and either it didn't come up or, it's a bit nerve-wracking talking to the FBI, and that they didn't ask any questions about that. And then, I guess over the ensuing week, I'd heard about like this Prius and this unsolved murder. And I remembered, it struck me as odd that I was sent these photographs of a boyfriend and not to tell the parents about him. And so that's when I wanted to have a clean conscience. So I reached out to the FBI and I said, I don't know if this matters, but I figured I would, tell you about this. And they came back for a second interview and looked at the pictures.
Okay. When is your father, Harvey Adelson's birthday?
July 5.
Okay, so on July 5th of 2014, how old would he have turned that year?
70.
Okay, and this is about 2 to 3 weeks before Dan Markel was killed?
Yes.
Did your family do anything to celebrate his birthday that year?
Yes, we had a party at their condo.
Okay, was there a gift from the family or from any of you to him?
No, I remember an email, and my dad is not someone who wants gifts or a big deal made about him, and so the email was something like, your dad doesn't want gifts, he just wants all of his kids to be with him on his birthday.
And was that from Donna Adelson?
Yes.
So she's basically just letting know you and your kids coming is going to be his gift.
Correct.
And everybody, all the kids and grandkids being
Correct.
there. Okay. Did the family ever discuss going on a cruise?
No, not with me.
When a birthday gift is given for somebody in the family, does Donna Adelson typically say, we're going to get him this, everybody owes this much, everybody's going to pay a third, or whatever it is?
Yeah, if there was like a big gift we're getting, or they said, we're getting this for someone, and you can be part of it, that was not uncommon.
Okay, so tell us at the party, or about the party. You said it was at the Continuum?
Yes, at their apartment.
Okay, so is that like a condo building in Miami?
Yeah, on Miami Beach.
Okay, on Miami Beach, like South Beach?
Yeah.
Okay. And is it a secure building?
It is very secure. It was, we were staying at a hotel down the street, and there was armed guards, and apparently there's a lot of celebrities that live there. It was a very high, very secure building.
Okay. And these celebrities that live there, were they people that you knew of? I mean, you knew who they were?
Sure. Yeah, A-Rod.
Did these people have kind of guards of their own too in the building?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So the guards that you saw were the guards in the front?
Yes.
All right. Had your parents, how recently had they moved to the Continuum?
I got the idea, it was certainly less than a year. I don't remember exactly, but it seemed like they said they were going to try living down in South Beach to see if they liked it for their retirement. And so it had to be sometime, before, because they were pretty well moved in there. But I don't remember the exact time, but if I'm guessing maybe 6 months before or something like that.
Okay, so by the weekend of the party, July 5th, are they fully moved into their condo there?
Yes.
Okay, and are they living there full time? From what you know?
It seemed like that, but I couldn't. I know they still own the house in Coral Springs, so I don't know if they're just there on the weekends, but I couldn't say definitively, but it looked like they were living there fully.
Okay. Was his party on his actual birthday or another day of the week?
No, on his actual birthday.
All right. Was your brother Charlie there that weekend?
Yes.
Wendi and her sons, were they there?
Yes.
Was the party catered?
Yeah, there was, yes.
What type of food did you have?
There were like past hors d'oeuvres, and then there was a paella chef on the balcony.
Okay.
Fancy.
Was the party a surprise for Harvey?
No.
So you were never told, don't tell him about it, it's a surprise,
no.
Anything like that? Don't tell him. Were you not supposed to tell him anything about the party that was a surprise?
No, there was nothing about a surprise birthday.
Okay, so this is important because we all know that Charlie was on the phone with his mom when they were traveling back to Miami from Tallahassee. She needed to stop at a rest area to talk to Charlie further because she said she needed to talk to him about Harvey's birthday gift. Now remember, this conversation takes place just after the first attempt failed. And then they have this conversation about needing to get Dad's birthday present. And she didn't want to talk about it with him while she's in the car with Harvey. And she says when she gets to a rest area, she'll be able to contact him about it. He just testified, Robert, that when they had birthday surprises or, surprise gifts, they were all in on it and they would pitch in on it. But he was told that there's no secret gift, nothing like that. So it just goes to show you that there was something else going on that they're referring to that birthday gift about. Let me see. What do you think it is?
Was there ever a time in the weeks leading up to the party that you heard that the party may be canceled for any reason?
No, never.
All right, so how did you first hear about Dan Markel's murder?
I heard the day after the shooting occurred, so that would be Saturday, July 19. I was at a meeting in Chicago, and I think I got a phone call first, and that I was in a meeting, and so I just said, can I call you later? And then I got a text message shortly thereafter, like right before 10 in the morning, that said, like, tragedy here, please call.
And are these from Donna Adelson?
Yes.
Okay. So were you able to call her that morning from the conference in Chicago?
Yeah, so I walked out and went to the hotel lobby and just hit call.
Okay, and tell us about that conversation with her.
So it's one of those moments that you'll just remember forever. So I remember being in the lobby of the Westin, and I assumed something terrible had happened, and but I wasn't ready for it. She said, so we just want to let you know that Danny's been shot, and they took him to the hospital, but he didn't make it. And it didn't make any sense. And I probably asked like a few medical questions, and they said they're driving up to go help Wendi, and we'll talk to you later. We can't talk now.
Okay. Was she crying in that conversation?
Not in the conversation.
Sir?
No, she was not.
Okay.
It was very matter of fact.
Did she ever give you any further detail that weekend about how he'd been shot, or other than just Danny was shot and he didn't make it?
I think it was the next day. So the only really other time that I spoke with him that weekend, I was in the airport going home, like Sunday afternoon. So it was definitely the next day, and it was the first time I could actually have any kind of conversation. And one of the things that she told me is, it bothered me, but I didn't have any other details about. But she said that someone went to the front door and said, "Are you Dan Markel?" and then shot him. And then I said, "Well, how could you know that? Who's telling you that?" And she said, "Well, that's just what they're telling us." And
okay. So she said someone told her that someone knocked on Danny's door, said, "Are you Dan Markel?" He said yes, and the shooter shot him.
Is that because Donna did not know that detail about how they were going to go about doing it? And she was, because she was aware that there was going to be a hit, she just assumed that they'd probably go to that front door. And then Sigfredo instead just follows him in to the driveway and ends up shooting him. And Donna, she's talking too fast here and didn't stop to think about exactly how did they end up doing it. It just makes Donna look so guilty here, guys.
That's the story I heard. And, later we found out that wasn't what happened, but that story bothered me a lot because there's only one way you could hear that story.
That's right.
Was she crying when she told you that information?
No.
You mentioned earlier that law enforcement contacted you after Dan Markel's murder. Did they contact you to try to see if you knew any information?
Yeah, they came to our house. I was already at work, and so they talked to my wife. It had to be a Wednesday or Thursday, so I was already at work.
And is this your house in New York?
Yes.
Okay. And did you end up talking to law enforcement and letting them, answering their questions, letting them know what you knew?
Yeah, they came to my office the next day, and we with two agents, and we had an interview.
Okay. After that conversation with, you said it was the FBI earlier, right?
Yes.
Okay. After that conversation with the FBI, did Donna Adelson ever say anything to you about having talked to law enforcement or the FBI?
It was either that afternoon or the next day, but and she called me and said, just want to let you know, if the police come around, don't talk to them.
Okay, so she told you not to talk to law enforcement.
Correct.
Did you let her know that you already had talked to law enforcement?
Yeah, I said I already did.
And what did she say to that?
She said, "Oh, well, you don't know anything anyway."
Okay, bombshell right there. Okay, first of all, if you truly love your grandchildren, right, and you're innocent and you have nothing to do with the hit of your ex-son-in-law, you would be more than cooperative with the police and you wouldn't be asking anyone not to talk to the police. And then on top of it, when he says, I already did, she goes, well, you don't know anything anyway. How snarky and stupid, too. Absolutely dumb to say something like that because it implies, well, you're not in our club. You're not in our little club and you don't know what we know, right?
You don't know anything anyway?
Correct.
Was that an unusual statement coming from your mother?
Yeah, everything that week was unusual, but I clearly didn't know anything, but I wasn't going to not talk to the FBI if they show up at my house.
That's right.
How did you respond? Let me ask you this. After the murder of Dan Markel, did Donna Adelson seem curious about who killed Dan Markel?
No.
Nope.
Was there a complete lack of curiosity?
Yeah, nobody seemed curious.
Did you actually ever ask her, like after the murder, like, hey, like, what do you think happened? What do you?
Yeah, and the conversations were kind of rerouted, or that was certainly discouraged, and it was probably like maybe sometime like mid-August, when I finally had a chance to ask and say, what is going on? This was not a small event. This was getting a lot of notoriety, and I said, what do you guys think happened? And she had said, I don't know and I don't care. It doesn't concern me.
Wow.
Was that out of character for her to not be curious and not be asking some questions?
Yeah, it was an unsolved murder of, my former brother-in-law, like someone that we all know very well. If it was like some neighborhood gossip, people would be interested. This was like national interest, and nobody had any curiosity about, who did this to Danny.
He cared more about this guy, and he lived all the way in New York and barely knew Dan. How many times? He probably could count on one hand how many times that he's had conversations with Dan Markel. And he was championing for him and was the only one who cared.
Is a person, you mentioned that, not only is it your brother-in-law, but it was like national news at that point as well.
Yes.
And regardless of it being national news or not, is a person dying from gun violence an extremely unusual thing to happen in your family?
Yeah, to this day, Danny's the only person that I know who's died from gun violence or been a victim of gun violence, so it's unique in that manner.
What would your mom, Donna Adelson, do if you did try to ask her any more about Danny's murder after that?
It wasn't a subject for discussion. It would be rerouted, or it was just not a subject to discuss.
When you say rerouted, do you mean like changing the subject?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fast forward to 2016. Do you remember in May of 2016 when Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera were arrested?
Yeah, I do. I saw it in the OR lounge. Someone told me about it. So it had to be like a Wednesday, and
you were in the operating room lounge.
Yeah, it was
and
the
someone
lounge.
Told you about it.
Yes, it was someone else, because stories like this people see on Twitter or such, and I remember someone telling me, like, did you hear about that case, because it's more than one person had followed it, and I saw it, and then. That was on the 26th, and I remember the dates because our anniversary is on the 28th of May. My wife and I were like, should we call them? Like they arrested some guy who killed Danny. And
when you say them, you mean like should we call my parents? And
yes.
Yeah, okay. So it was big news that even people you work with were seeing that there were finally some arrests made.
Right.
Okay. And that was 2 days before your anniversary, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So did you and your wife eventually talk to your parents?
We did. We thought, should we call them? And we figured, if they wanted to call us, they would call us, and then they didn't. And so we figured, well, they'll call us on our anniversary, and so we can just sit tight. And I'm sure it's pretty stressful. And this guy was arrested in Miami, and so they called us on our anniversary, which was the 28th.
Okay, so that was 2 days after the arrest, I think.
2 days after I found out. Yes.
2 days after you found out. Thank you. So on the 28th, did you talk to Donna Adelson?
Yes.
All right. And when she called you, was she telling you the good news that Danny's killers were arrested?
No, she just called us for anniversary, and wished us well, and had some small talk for a bit. I kind of let it go for a little bit. This was not small news, and so I finally broached the topic and said, they found the guy, they arrested someone who killed Danny. There's no response, and I said it, at least 2 or 3 times that they made an arrest. They got the guy who killed Danny.
Man.
Yeah, and then her response was, I've got to go.
Wow.
And then did she hang up the phone after that?
Yes.
He looks like he's ready to cry. In fact, he looks like he has a tear. He does.
And did you ever talk to her about it again, ever after that?
No.
Oh, man. And this is why.
Just a second.
He's going to tell you why. Why this is so heartbreaking for him at this very moment.
That's all. Other than, you know, her reaching out for happy birthdays, happy anniversaries, that kind of thing, was that the last conversation you had with her?
That was the last time I spoke to her.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Robert Adelson was essentially canceled, completely deleted, canceled because he cared about Dan Markel. And he was a problem for the Adelson family because he asked too many questions and he divulged information to the FBI that any normal person would do. And he lost his entire family because of it. So when I played earlier in this video, testimony of Wendi talking about, oh, you know, there are other reasons why we don't talk. She didn't mention this reason. She didn't mention this reason because she would have to explain herself. And she wasn't going to do that. But now we know. And it's a complete travesty what has happened to this man. So I want to wrap up this video by saying that, and this might sound cheesy to some of you, but I do. I pray a lot. And I pray that this man has happiness from this time forward. I pray that he finds fulfillment in his immediate family, his wife and his 2 kids. And hopefully he has a father and mother figure in her parents, his wife's parents, and he can get through this whole ordeal. I mean, it is a lifetime of agony and despair for this man already and will be. So I sincerely wish his family nothing but the best. So with that in mind, I'm going to wrap up the video. And I want to say thank you guys for being with me. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to join Jocelyn and I in the evenings for our podcast. And we got the Donna Adelson trial, and we'll be here with you. So thanks so much. Bye.